My husband, 48, and I, 47 female, have 2 children, a son, nearly adult, and a daughter, young teen. The problem is that my daughter always insists on using her brother's belongings, like his PS5, computer, violin, literally anything he has. My son, of course, doesn't like it when she touches his belongings, and they often get into fights. Last night, they had another fight because while he was out, my daughter sneaked into his bedroom and played with his computer, and when he confronted her about it, she started crying and threatened to break his belongings if we didn't make him share. I grounded her for 2 weeks and got a lock for my son's bedroom. She then called my parents to tell them what happened, and they thought I was an idiot and should force him to share. Am I the idiot for not allowing my daughter to use my son's personal belongings? Edit. We can't afford to buy 2 PS5s, 2 violins, and 2 computers, so my son has all 3. My daughter will get his hand-me-downs when we can afford to buy our son the new ones. She has a phone that she can play with, but she's bored and wants something else to play with. We couldn't afford to buy more for her, and as the older child, naturally, he would be the one to get the new ones, but we promised her that as soon as we could afford something else, we'd buy the newer versions for her brother, and she'll get his console and computer. Also, she doesn't really need a PS5, does she? All of those things were my son's birthday and Christmas presents. My daughter's birthday is right before Christmas, so money's tight, and we can't afford lavish gifts. But we got her nice clothes and shoes that she needed. You are the idiot, big time. Your son does not deserve everything because he's a boy and the oldest, and all she'll ever get is his old hand-me-downs when you can afford something new? Shame on you. A reasonable person would take the total money for new gifts and divide it by 2 for the kids or make them share. Not OP, golden child, firstborn son needs it all. And also, remember the fact that her birthday is right before Christmas, and his isn't, so he gets lavish and fun gifts while she gets the shoes she needs. Jesus! If you can afford birthday and Christmas gifts for your son, you can do the same for your daughter. You need to budget better if you can't because your daughter's birthday is too close to Christmas. Your poor daughter. Turns out that you bought all these things for him as a present, but your girl never receives anything similar because her birthday's later during the year and close to Christmas, and you apparently can't buy 2 expensive gifts, one for your son, one for your daughter. So you decided that it's a wonderful solution to give your son all the expensive stuff, and your daughter should be understanding and happy with her phone, and just to accept that you spend all the money on her brother and she gets what is left. Do you really think that's fair? Poor girl is feeling terrible, I suppose. There was no middle ground here? Would you like to buy a shared PS, perhaps, and 2 less expensive gifts for both of them? It feels like we love our children equally, our dear Billy and this second one. You should do better. Don't be surprised if she goes no contact with you when she's 18. Why do you hate your daughter? The more I think about this one, the more I'm bothered by you not recognizing what you're doing to cause this. I just don't understand why my daughter cut us off. She didn't invite us to the wedding. I can't see my grandchildren. We gave everything to her and her brother. No gratitude. That's your future. I can't believe that you think it's acceptable for one child to get really nice gifts, while the other gets more modest gifts with the promise of getting their siblings' hand-me-downs when you can afford to buy him new stuff again. Do better. I'm 34 male, a dad of 4. My babies are a young male teen, a female tween, a male tween, and a male pre-tween. Our youngest has some significant sensory issues and anger management issues, which he's being evaluated for. Important info for context. He's already been diagnosed with ODD, but this goes beyond that. My sister, 34, my twin, has a tween daughter, Jane, who's a spoiled, rotten kid, as she's an only child, and my sister puts a whole new meaning to gentle parenting, as in she doesn't parent because her kid is just expressing herself, and she doesn't want to parent out her personality, which sucks. I love my niece to the depth of my being, but I don't like her or my sister. I don't know how else to put it. On Saturday, we had a memorial of life service for my uncle, who passed away months ago. It was held at my brother's house. There were probably about 12 kids there. We got 40 of those 60-pack water balloon things and let the kids go ham. It was a huge ordeal. However, at some point, my youngest decided the water was too much for him to handle, said he was done playing, and came to sit by me and dry off. He was being great, which I was grateful for because he has a lot of bad days. But my niece kept coming up and throwing more water balloons at him after she was asked to stop. It was causing him to spiral, and he started raging out, basically, and my sister was telling me to calm my kid down and tell him to stop being a baby. She didn't want to get wet, so every single time he went to throw one back, she would start screaming, telling him to stop. At that point, my sister got involved and yelled at my son, saying, "Don't you dare." She said not to get her wet because she's wearing white and it'll be see-through. I told her to tell her daughter to stop throwing water balloons at my son because he had already said to stop, and she said, "He's already wet." So basically, my niece was perfectly fine to throw crap at my kid, who had asked her to stop repeatedly, but they weren't letting him defend himself. The last time my niece came up to him, I spoke up and said, "Don't even think about it." He said no. She didn't listen and threw it anyways, so I grabbed the hose beside me and drenched her for a solid 30 seconds. She immediately starts crying and covering herself and goes to hang out in my sister's car. My sister started scolding me, stating that I knew it was going to make her see-through and decided to be a creep anyway. My mom and father kicked her out for that comment. I'm getting texts from my brother-in-law stating that I'm a pig and that what I did was uncalled for and abusive and that I would never be allowed around my niece again because I'm inappropriate. Edit. The dress wasn't even all white. It had a stripe along her stomach. That's the only spot of white that was on her. The rest of the dress was dark. Not the idiot. You should have soaked your stupid sister as well. Gentle parenting my butt. She'd never have said those awful things about your son if she were truly gentle parenting. I had a niece that would always attack my son. She'd hit, bite, scratch. My son was very gentle and doesn't like violence. Well, one day, after multiple bite attacks, I told her dad, "Everything she does to him, I'm going to do to you for the rest of the night. You should stop drinking and get ready." Funny how they started seeing the error in her ways after that. Oh, look, a parent your own child, or someone will parent it for you in the wild. Your child, the younger one in this situation, got hit with water balloons after being asked not to multiple times. But that was okay for Sister Dearest. It sounds like your brat of a sister is raising a brat of a daughter. Remember that just because she's your twin doesn't mean you have to expose your children to her or her poor parenting. OP, you probably want to limit your exposure to people who would, without a second thought, absolutely annihilate your reputation. Those accusations are not ones to mess with, and you should never allow yourself to be in a situation that these idiots could use against you again. The first time someone accuses you of inappropriateness when there was none is the last time that person should have the opportunity to do so. Reputations are shattered with less and often aren't rebuilt in this lifetime. I've always had a female friend and crush in college called Cam. Our families were good friends as well. Now, we didn't click concerning our personalities. I was a huge nerd, and I just liked the idea of dating someone like her. We were friends throughout college, but lost touch till recently. Cam and I are both 30. Cam also has a preschool-age son. Recently, we started being friends again, mostly messaging and sending memes. I told her early on that I wasn't interested in dating when she flirted with me. She's asked me out a couple of more times, but I've turned her down. Well, recently, I hung out with the guy friend in my hometown, whose girlfriend is good friends with Cam, and he asked why I don't give Cam a shot. I told him that it's not her, it's just that I don't want to be with someone that has a kid. I said that 5 years ago, she was my ideal girl, but if I'm having a kid, I wanted to be with someone who's also having their first time having a kid. Like dating someone who's already been married before too would cheapen it for me. I said that I would like someone, ideally 24 to 26. Then he asked me how I would rate her on a scale of 1 to 10. I was like, I'm not going to do that. I said she's pretty fit for someone with a kid, but face-wise, I feel like age has just made her look tired and drained the moisture from her face, which I understand, as it must be a lot of effort raising a kid by yourself. I said this all really stupidly, thinking it was just between us. However, the next day I got a FaceTime from Cam with her crying. I tried to apologize, but she wasn't having any of it. Now Cam, my friend, and his girlfriend think of me as a giga idiot. Not the idiot, read your preferences, but we're going to sit and laugh at you for thinking a 20-something will want you. You're aging too. I guarantee that you don't look the same as you did 5 years ago. Her face lost moisture? That's hysterical. Everyone's the idiot here. You for talking so poorly about a friend's looks. It's rude, and you could have just said she's not my type. The friend for asking you to rate her, and you responding, and then reporting back to Cam. You could have just said no and not responded. Also, Cam, just a bit because you've turned her down a few times, and she still had a friend ask why. The way you talk about a friend's appearance is terrible. So he's the idiot for responding when his friend and her girlfriend try to gang press him into dating their single mother friend. Rating her wasn't even solicited. They pushed him, and he refused to rate her and outlined why she wasn't attractive. But he's the idiot because he said away from the person why he doesn't want to date her when asked why he doesn't give her a chance. Surely the idiots are the two friends that wouldn't accept a boundary, thought it their place to press OP into a romantic relationship, then needlessly passed on the reason OP said no. Honestly, I was going to say the exact same thing. If Cam's going to be so childish that she's going to send friends to try to pressure him into reversing his rejection and to press for details, she deserves the comments. He let her down gently the first time and the second time. Then she started playing stupid childish games and won something to cry over. Not the idiot. Cam needed to learn that no, I don't want to date you doesn't mean continue pushing for it and playing crappy proxy games, and I'll change my mind. It's also concerning to me that someone so hilariously immature is raising a kid. We've been dating for about 2.5 years. In the beginning, we lived in separate homes, but recently, I, 26 female, moved in with him, 29. He works in investment banking, and his hours are longer than usual, around 12 to 13 hours a day, and I work a typical job, 8 hours a day. However, this doesn't mean that I owe him something. I'm not forcing him to work in investment banking. He could easily get a normal job at a normal company because of his experience, but he chooses not to. He could work 8 hours a day, and we can do the cleaning and cooking together, but he won't do it. Instead, he works longer hours and expects me to cook something for him. We argued again a couple of days ago because I didn't cook and told him to order something. He got mad and exactly said, "You work 8 hours a day. Come home, sit on your phone, or watch Netflix until you sleep. You're lazy and selfish." This made me really furious because I'm not lazy. I just feel tired after work and don't want to do anything when he can easily order food or cook for himself if he wants homemade food. No one is forcing him to work those long hours, so I don't see myself as being selfish or lazy, to be honest. Was I being an idiot by saying something that might come across as rude, like order something? Did I deserve to be called lazy and selfish for not cooking for him? Am I the idiot? Edit. His dad owns the place, so neither of us pays rent. We only pay HOA fees, property taxes, and bills. I do contribute to all of those with a big portion of my salary. If we go somewhere I can't afford, he covers the expenses, but I'm not expecting him to take me to those expensive places. It's entirely his choice. I'm perfectly fine with going to places that I can afford, and when we do that, I pay for myself. As for chores, he's never told me that he would expect me to cook for him before I moved in. Before I moved in, he already had a cleaning service, which we still use. We don't have any major chores apart from simple tasks like washing and cleaning up, which I end up doing most of the time. He basically doesn't do any chores. Not the idiot, and break up with him. He wants a servant, not a partner. You're both working full-time jobs. His longer hours don't mean that you should automatically be responsible for anything. Instead of arguing when things aren't done to his expectation, sit down and talk through creating a plan for who will do what you both can live with. If he isn't willing to contribute, reevaluate your relationship and determine if this dynamic is sustainable for you. And please don't have kids. Childcare will just be another thing you're 100% responsible for. No, he does want a partner. He pays for a cleaning service that OP doesn't contribute to. OP also pays no rent, and her boyfriend pays for all dates and trips. He wants a partner. OP clearly wants a sugar daddy. She's not covering her share. She'd be covering her share if she paid for part of the cleaning service or did some cooking. But right now, she's not contributing anything really and expecting her boyfriend to fund her lifestyle. I have a hard time believing she can't pay for dinner once in a while when she's not even paying any rent. OP's the idiot. Exactly. You know he works 12 to 13 hours a day and is probably very tired after work. And you still can't spend 15 to 20 minutes a day fixing a quick dinner for the both of you? Honestly, what are you even contributing to this relationship? Girl, you have a pretty sweet deal. You should cook his dinner Monday through Thursday and let him pay for fun things on the weekend. Save up your money in case it doesn't work out. For the past 14 years, I, 26 male, have owned an absolute angel of a German Shepherd. Everybody and anybody who met her always fell in love with her, as she always lay next to or on them. This is especially true for my autistic cousin, who loved to hug and play fetch with her. Unfortunately, as pets age, their health declines and reaches a point where difficult decisions have to be made. A month ago, after seeing how much she was suffering from her arthritis, I decided to put her down. When the time came, the vet came to my place to do everything, with their final moments being just the two of us. Afterward, I held off on telling friends and family, as I wanted some downtime before breaking the news. Unfortunately, that changed when my parents, along with my aunt and her family, came by unannounced this week. Reality hit them hard when they saw the urn with her picture and her date of passing. My autistic cousin, tween male, struggled to understand at first before having a meltdown. While my parents understood, the same couldn't be said for my aunt, who got angry. She started going off about how I should have waited for them to get back from their trip. She also said that she and her family had the right to be there due to how much her son loved her. In the politest way possible, I told her that the world doesn't revolve around her son and that I wouldn't have had them come over if they were back. This led to her cursing me out before storming off with her son, to which I hadn't heard or seen them since. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. And also, holy wow, your aunt is angry to the point of cussing you out and giving you the silent treatment because your dog died? Has no one told her about showing compassion for people who are grieving? I'm so sorry for your loss. I'm not putting my dog down any second sooner than I have to, but when that day comes, I won't be waiting for anyone out of town to return. My first responsibility is to the dog. Yes, a heads up to prepare the son before he arrives and gets a surprise would have been ideal, but this was an unannounced visit. The OP got ambushed, and in this situation, they're the chief mourner. They've got their own grief to process. So Aunt's attempt to make the OP responsible for her son's reaction was out of order. Honestly, the aunt also needs some mental help.